I'm Phil Bolton with the Global Atlanta News Service, and today I'm with Mike Morris, who heads the Atlanta office of North Highland, a consulting firm. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about North Highland and what it does.
So we're a global management consultancy, but we serve our clients a little bit differently. We only hire experienced consultants, and we focus on maintaining long-term relationships in the local market. So our people who own those and manage those long-term relationships live in the city, they work with their clients, they see them in the community, but we can then draw on a global base of expertise when we need it.
In a world that is becoming more global, how do you see the local and the global interacting?
You know, one thing that I don't think will ever go completely global, people like to have a relationship. They want to know somebody, especially in consulting with our focus on becoming trusted advisors for people. People want a relationship with their trusted advisor. What they don't want is to only be limited to the knowledge of that trusted advisor. They want that person. Our people at North Highland will draw on the global experiences of our consultancy and really quarterback that knowledge to the client to make sure they get what they need.
Back in the early 90s, when the company was formed, it was unique in the sense that there was a lot of concentration on the local aspect. Other big consulting firms were sending their employees on 6 months assignments in other cities and so forth. There was a reaction to that. Mm-hmm. That, am I correct in thinking that was the origin? But now it's a different world. How have you managed to expand with your clients globally?
Sure. So our founder really set off on a bit of an experiment. You know, could you have a consultancy that focused on a local market and building those long-term relationships? And at the time, it was an experiment. Other people are trying it now, but at the time, you know, nobody had done it before. We've proven that could work, but we also, in building these long-term relationships with our clients, we listened to them. And as we listened to them, they talked about having large projects, not just here in the U.S., but also with pieces that were international. So as we listened to them, we expanded our international base so that we could continue to serve them. And now we're players on those projects as well.
Do you do it through partnerships, or do you actually set up an entire office and staff?
We've done a little of both. So through Highland Worldwide, it's really a model that parallels what all the big firms have done. We learned, again, we came out of those shops, we learned from them. You look at any of the large consultancies, they're really under the hood, they're country-specific partnerships with a brand and all the legal entities and paperwork in place so they could do business together. We modeled that, and we found like-minded firms that shared our values, our focus on clients in other countries. I'd contrast that with China, where it's a North Highland office. We actually sent one of our great folks over there to work with the Chinese team that could bring not necessarily an American way of doing things, but the North Highland culture. We have this obsessive focus on client relationships, and that turns into long-term client relationships. They were most interested in learning that from us, and so we actually picked somebody up to go over there and work with them.
And you hire nationals?
Correct. You know, it's interesting. We've got a client, they're a pharmaceutical client, and their global headquarters is in Europe. Their U.S. headquarters is here in Atlanta because it's a great place to fly in and out of on Delta. And we started to do some work with them there. Well, through that, we built a relationship with corporate, and we're able to draw in some of our German colleagues to work with them on a performance dashboard company-wide. As they looked at global rollout, what they realized was pick any nationality sent from a headquarters office, they're not greeted always warmly when the consultants show up. Whereas if you can tell somebody, these consultants from your city or your country are going to drive over and work with you, already we're ahead on the change management issues. They get the culture, they speak the local language, they may know the good restaurants, and so they can build those relationships with people much more quickly than somebody flying in from another country. So it became a competitive advantage for us on big global change initiatives.
Your employees also become owners of the company.
Correct. We're 100% employee owned.
How long has that been in effect?
So I joined 11 years ago, and the ESOP, the Employee Stock Ownership Program, was already in place. I'd be hard-pressed to tell you what year we instituted, but our founders had a belief that people would invest more personally in the company if they had a stake in it. So over time, our ESOP bought out our founders to the point that now we're 100% employee owned. Every year, you know, the company puts a little money in each person's name. They get a little bit bigger stake. That vests over a few years. The magic point seems to be around 3 to 4 years. People start to really talk like owners. They will put their hand up and say, we had somebody do this with our CFO recently. They challenged him, said, how's that a good use of our money, of my money as an investor? And he had a very open dialogue that for him was very comfortable because he was briefing his owners. He wasn't talking to a bunch of employees. It's a very unique, very different way of approaching the conversation.
How is North Highland going to be different in 5 years than it is now?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, there's still a large part of the United States that hasn't heard of North Highland. We have some big cities left that we're going to get to. Many of the offices we've opened, again, we've been led there by a client. We have a map and we know what cities we want to be in over the next 10 to 20 years. But the ones that move to the top of the list are where we have clients that say, you know, I really need your help here as well, and they have a large presence. So I see continued domestic expansion. I believe our China office will continue to grow. Highland Worldwide, we recently added a partner now to represent Japan, and we have other, you know, significant countries where we're scouting for partner firms that we can work with. So I think our international footprint will continue to grow. I don't know about the next 5 years, somewhere between 5 and 10. I think we'll be hard pressed to find a place that we can't serve clients.
Are you optimistic about the economy?
I am. You know, I'd love to be more optimistic on employment. I'm happy to say that we're hiring. A lot of the consultancies I know are hiring. I get a little concerned more broadly in the economy. I look at the high unemployment levels when you slice it by education, when you slice it by sector for people who previously were highly employed in, you know, banking, anything associated with real estate. It still seems to me that retail hiring is dragging. I am concerned for how that will pick up. What makes me optimistic is that almost across the board, our clients have cash coming in. They're starting to sit on some cash, and they're actually starting to invest that. So in the recession, North Highland saw a good amount of work around, you know, squeezing out some costs, efficiency, doing more with less. In the last 6 months, we've seen what we're talking about with our clients really has swung to front office investments, growing the top line. So we're doing more. North Highland has more work around customer relationship management, sales force effectiveness, and also just customer analytics. Really, you know, deeper segmentation. We're doing great persona work. This is all work you do with companies that believe they're going to grow, that want to go invest and take market share. So that's what makes me optimistic on the medium to long term. I'm only an amateur economist, so I won't predict when hiring will pick up.